My name is Carla Zills. I teach algebra at the 8th grade level at the Edison K-8. I am an 11-year veteran teacher. I teach an advanced class, and I also teach an inclusion class which has students with special needs. This class is co-taught with a special educator. In terms of creating the team, we contacted some specific people from different schools and districts that we knew had great reputations. We brought them in for interviews. We asked them if they would be interested in joining the team. We knew of their talents. It didn't matter their familiarity with PowerPoint. It was more about their ability to build and design engaging lessons. We have teachers on our design team from Boston Public Schools. We have teachers on our design team from the Lawrence Public System, in addition to Cambridge Public Schools. Last summer, we had 2 representatives from Harwich, which is located on Cape Cod, the Harwich Public School System. To start the project off on the right foot, I knew that we needed to build a very collaborative environment. The designers that were chosen for the team already had a lot of experience working collaboratively within their own districts and within their own schools. We wanted to set some norms for each session. We also wanted to have a common vision and a common understanding of the work as we move forward. The norms were created collaboratively, and we kind of hold each other accountable for abiding by the norms. We always have set up an inclusive setting, actual setting in the room. We sit in a circle or in a U shape, and we signal that we want airtime by raising our hand or waiting for another person, but that it is always, from the beginning, it's always stated that this work, we're trying to make this work better for everybody. We're all learning. This is a total constant draft, because we're all learning as we go through this process, and it's meant to make great teachers even better. The biggest advantage of working in a collaborative setting is we have designers that are teachers of 5th and 6th grade classrooms and designers that teach 7th grade and 8th grade classrooms. And we have a high school designer as well. So we're able to see the vertical alignment. So a lot of times our discussions are, well, what was the prior knowledge? And the 5th grade or 6th grade teachers are able to speak to that. And this skill is going to be used for what in the future. And the 8th grade and the high school designers are able to speak to that end of it. So it really helps to cohesively provide vertical alignment in math education. The biggest challenge in terms of the collaborative nature of the project is there are tried and true methods for teaching specific concepts. Some designers spend time researching more innovative and newer methods. So it goes back to that saying, trying to teach an old dog new tricks. There are some designers who have taught a specific method and had great success. They've never considered this more innovative, newer method. So a designer's presenting it, that teacher isn't familiar with it, is pushing back a little bit, and it can cause some tension in the room, because everyone in the room is a fantastic math educator, but some people kind of stick to their own methods and need a little push to think outside that box. So that's been a challenge, getting people to become more flexible and open to different methods of teaching the same old concepts. It's natural to become defensive because there's a lot of work that goes into designing these lessons. So sometimes we have had a few hot spots, we call them, and what we've done is kind of, put things on the table, stopped the conversation, done more of a debrief about what is causing the tension, and putting on the table what the issues are. And we have a really respectful group, and we're always thinking about so how do we learn from this? It wasn't just a bad moment, this was a learning opportunity. How do we learn from this and go forward? Was there a miscommunication? Do you want to see an example? Do you want to see some evidence or some data? A lot of the designers, before presenting a very new method, they've tried it in their own classroom. So they're presenting the new method with data, and they're saying, I've tried this with students, and this is what came out of it. I want to show you. For every lesson and every feedback session, It challenges my interpretation of the Common Core standards, and it also gives me that vertical look. I'm looking behind in younger grades and I'm looking ahead in older grades, and I'm really able to see into kind of the path of thinking of different teachers. So they're presenting material differently than maybe I've ever thought of presenting it. So a lot of what happens in the feedback sessions, I also can take back to my own classroom, which is a classroom of 8th graders. It's not even a classroom of 6th graders, but it always gives me something to put in my teacher toolbox.
Insects that are growing.
I believe that this project is very helpful to teachers in a few different ways. It's helpful to a veteran teacher who's learning the Common Core state standards. There isn't a specific curriculum as of today that is solely based on Common Core lessons. So here's a package, here's a lesson from the beginning to the end that you can digest, that you can make your own, that you can read the script to. You have leeway there. So that's for the more veteran teachers that are getting to know the curriculum. For new teachers are very overwhelmed by classroom management, setting up routines, understanding the building. Here's a lesson that they can take the time to read and digest. They didn't have to spend hours creating it. It's been created. All they have to do is kind of like embody it and make it their own. So from a veteran teacher to a new teacher to like a teacher just looking like, I'm bored of teaching this way, is there a new way to do it? So I feel like it kind of hits teachers at all stages in their career.
If they've written equations before, they know it becomes an equal sign. I just think it needs to be more emphasized.
I do think that anytime you are teaching a curriculum without the input of colleagues, you may be doing a disservice to students. Being able to hear other people's opinions, to see different teaching styles, to hear about different methods only increases your content knowledge as the teacher and also gives you additional ideas to provide to your students who every classroom has diverse needs. So I think again, it really helps to build up your teacher toolbox. In the beginning slides of each lesson, it will state the designer's name. So for example, it will say this lesson has been designed by Carla Zills. And then you're able, on Share My Lesson, you're able to email the designer. So some designers have received emails directly saying, this was a great lesson, thank you. And that really gives them a sense of satisfaction.
Hi, my name is Corey Cheever. I'm a teacher at Lawrence High School. I teach grades 9 through 12. Last year I taught 3 Algebra 1 sections, a pre-calculus section, and a calculus section. I first heard about 21st century lessons from the president of the union in Lawrence. He recommended me for it. I came for an interview and they thought, well, I'll be a great fit for the position. One thing I've learned about working collaboratively through this project is the ability to take criticism and feedback without getting upset about it. We have a great atmosphere when we're presenting our lessons, and anything that someone else sees fit that they should say, they just say right out loud, and there's, no one gets offended. Everyone is very positive. I could definitely see working this way being replicated at a school or district level, in the idea of everyone working together and giving feedback, positive and negative. However, I think working district to district gives everyone a lot of great ideas that you don't see a lot of time because of different student body or just different ideas from teachers that you don't get to meet every day. The best thing about this project is it's curriculum that's directly from the Common Core. So if you're presented with a new Common Core next year and you're unsure about where to start or if your book covers everything, you can always use our lessons as a great supplement to a book that you're already using. And you can rest assured that it's covering everything that the Massachusetts Common Core wants you to cover. I think that working in this collaborative process is a definite must for any high school or middle school teacher because you get ideas from everyone's different experience, whether they're new to the job or they've been there for 20 years. I've enjoyed learning about technology from other people and things that I can now implement in the classroom when I'm teaching. So I've learned things about PowerPoint and Google Docs that would be great tools when I'm teaching a classroom of students. The biggest challenge is when you think that you finished a lesson and you go and present it and you get so much feedback and criticism about it that when you leave the lesson, you think that you have to start over from scratch. Then once you actually start looking at it though, you realize that if it wasn't for this feedback that you never would have had this great final product that you finished with at the end.
Could be, yeah. I mean, I think that's just part of the, what is the relationship?
Hey, my name is Brian Connor. I'm a math teacher and a technology specialist at the Boston Day and Evening Academy, which is an alternative high school in Boston. And I've been the technology director at 21st Century Lessons for the last 2 summers, and I was also a lesson developer this summer, the first summer I started. So 3 summers I've been working with the project. If I had to give people advice on how to set up technology, so just keep it really simple. There's so many free things out there, and so many new startups that are willing to work with teachers and things like that. So simple is better. We use Microsoft Office products for our actual content. We chose to use sort of standard Office products to deliver our lessons, so we use PowerPoints and Microsoft Word and a little bit of Excel, just because we figure that's what most people are using, so we wanted to make sure that as many people could use it as possible. We're using various websites to deliver our content, so there's one called sharemylesson.com and there's one called betterlesson.com. And they're just places where teachers can go, download free lessons either by unit or by single lesson or by a worksheet, so they can kind of just get whatever they need on a given day. And those are all free and open source. And also we wanted to make sure that people could download the lessons, modify them as they needed, accommodate the students in their classroom. So we made sure that they could, their PowerPoints and rather than like videos and Word documents rather than PDFs kind of thing, so people could download and modify them. And then in terms of our collaboration, we will have people present and then we give feedback just using Google Docs. So all of the things that we've been choosing are really geared toward just simplicity and sort of universal access. So we want everybody to be able to access them as well as possible. We've talked about different ways that we could scale these things and different ways they could work on a district level or even just on a school level. And so we're currently using Dropbox to share files, and I think that small schools could use that kind of thing. We use Google Docs for the feedback, and the reason we use that is because a bunch of people can update those at the same time, which is the real key for that. So while we're doing feedback sessions, we'll have somebody up in front of the room presenting, or in the case of the social studies group, they'll be actually sharing via Google Hangout. So they do all of their meetings remotely, and somebody will present. But the idea behind this is people can be verbally giving feedback, having discussions about what's going to work best in this situation and that situation, and people can also be documenting those conversations on the Google Doc in real time. So if you look on the Google Doc while people are working, you'll actually see 5 or 6 or 7 different cursors, different colored cursors, kind of giving feedback on the different slides or on the different worksheets that we're talking about. So it's this really great opportunity to just get all the ideas down, so that when the presenter is leaving and going back and sort of revising their lesson for the first or second or third time, they've got all of those notes down so they can hopefully reference those while they're updating their content. In terms of collaboration tools, it's really helpful. Well, I think that the curriculum is really solid, and I think it's solid because we have a bunch of really good teachers that are sitting down and having really in-depth conversations. And some of them are very big picture things about where things fit into the big picture of the standards. People that are very aware that, this is going to a 6th grader, so what should they be doing in 6th grade versus what should they be doing in high school? But also, we're getting down to the details. So it'd be better if you write this more clearly, make sure that you phrase this way. So with those, sort of that broad level conversation, you have, you're just kind of hitting everything that a teacher has to think about on a given day. And we're thinking through all of those things before a teacher actually has to take this content and deliver it. So if I was to give advice to schools, we've talked about scaling this project and trying to teach other people how we're doing this. And I think that those conversations and making that time for teachers to sit and really talk about how they're teaching and what they're teaching is completely invaluable. I think, I'm a much better teacher after having done this process as many times as I have, and every time we sit and do this process, I think, oh wow, that's a really great strategy that teachers are using, or that, you know, these are things that I should be doing in my classroom, or these are things that I should be thinking about as I'm planning my own lessons. So, you know, it's not just about creating the content at this point. I think it's about creating a collaborative community of educators, and you know, luckily we have the ability to create this content that we get to share with people. But I think that the process is so much, you know, it's equally or more valuable than what we're actually creating for people.